with the T.I. situation. If he did that, you're a rat too. Because if you're doing anything wrong, you doing anything criminal-wise, and you cooperate with law enforcement, that means you're a rat.
Questioning doing crime with, nigga, and questioning that you got the authorization to check. You can't check me.
King Harris didn't flinch. The moment a charged label was attached to his father's name, he stepped forward like he'd prepared for this conversation all along. He wasn't there to be checked, and he wasn't willing to let a quick caption decide a family's story. At first glance, it looked like another viral moment, but underneath is something broader. Reputations under review, timelines competing with documents, and a son realizing how heavy a last name can feel when the audience wants conclusions before the full context. Viewers saw a heated exchange. King felt responsibility. That's why the clip lingered. It wasn't just a response, it was a boundary about family, respect, and what gets said in public. But that wasn't the whole story. King's voice cut through the noise. Measured but firm. He made it clear that fast labels spread faster than facts, and once they stick, they're difficult to remove. Social platforms favor simple words because they travel. He asked for something more careful: context. He wasn't asking for sympathy, he was challenging a narrative that can turn speculation into certainty overnight. In his view, attaching a stigmatizing label to a parent isn't content, it crosses a line. The moment resonated because it surfaced a larger truth. Online reputation is fragile, and family names can carry long shadows. And boundaries once drawn tend to get tested.
With the T.I. situation, if he did that, you're a rat too. Because if you're doing anything wrong, you doing anything criminal-wise, and you cooperate with law enforcement, that means you're a rat.
Before King stepped in, a candid interview set the stage. Boosie stated that T.I. had cooperated with authorities in a past matter and referenced a scenario involving a deceased relative. Shortly after, he said the collaborative album many were anticipating would not move forward. Overnight, a music rollout turned into a values debate. Comment sections became debate halls. Timelines were stitched together by people trying to read intent between the lines. Was this a principled stand, or a decision made under pressure from public optics? The project didn't just pause, it became a symbol of how quickly alliances can shift when the internet treats perception like proof. Still, T.I. wasn't staying silent.
I've already had the conversation. I've already made my peace with it. Because I know that energy. I was that energy. I know exactly how it's going to turn out.
T.I. responded with context and documents. He stated that the widely shared confession people referenced came from a hypothetical conversation, not a real-world decision in a case. He described the viral version as embellished and pointed to paperwork supporting his position. In a culture that treats screenshots like decisive evidence, this mattered. It moved the conversation from sound bites to source material. What do the documents actually say? Are we reading them fully, or only the parts that fit a headline? Tip's stance didn't demand instant belief. It asked for a slower, more careful read. Whether people agreed or not, the framing changed, from rumor loops to record checking. Meanwhile, the spotlight was already spilling onto his family. King didn't enter public view as a blank slate. Earlier, a heated exchange at a casual restaurant circulated widely when he was 17.
This ain't your restaurant. Everything you make, I can pull out my right now. I ain't chat out my face. What's your name? My name King. You know it, and your mama know it.
Clips traveled fast, and reactions were sharp. Some viewers saw a teenager acting out, others saw a young person bristling under constant cameras. Either way, impressions formed quickly. The internet wasn't only judging King, it was grading T.I. as if a single clip could summarize an entire home. When you're young and recognizable, missteps don't fade, they get replayed and used as context the next time your name trends. That's why later moments landed harder. Once people think they see a pattern, new footage can feel like confirmation. And then, another video surfaced.
Sir, there's one in the head.
Does your buddy have one as well? Alright, just hang tight right here for me. Let me clear this. I don't want any accidental fires. Place your hands behind your back for me. Alright, right now you're just being detained. You want this hat to go with you?
Not I'm going to jail.
I'm sorry, I didn't give you the update. So they did confirm it. The warrant is valid and they do want you.
A 2024 traffic stop returned to the news cycle with new intensity. According to the video and discussion that followed, officers reported detecting the odor of a controlled substance, noted a visible legally restricted item at the waist, and after a records check, found an outstanding 2022 warrant related to traffic matters. Speeding, a suspended license, and an impaired driving case. On social platforms, nuance rarely trends, patterns do. To some, the stop looked like a young person moving too fast. To others, it was routine procedure amplified by a well-known surname. Either way, the optics were challenging, and the conversation looped back to T.I. Is he defending a son as many parents would, or enabling behavior critics already dislike? It's a difficult public frame. If you show grace, you're too lenient. If you set limits, you're late. For King, the lesson was sharper. When history is watching, small missteps can become defining headlines. That's when Boosie re-entered with added claims. Boosie didn't just keep the focus on Tip, he began placing King at the center of his commentary, suggesting the son reflects the father. The move generated attention and a mirror. Online chatter, varying in sourcing and still developing, suggested Boosie's own household faced legal scrutiny at times, including mentions of multiple items classified as legally restricted and even a conversion device referenced in posts. Because this discussion is wrapped in reportedly and allegedly, it remains in the unverified column unless and until official records are produced. Still, public perception rarely waits for paperwork. Critics asked a simple question: if your home is dealing with storms, why publicly mock another family for slipping in the rain? The point wasn't to excuse anyone, it was to highlight the risk of public judgment. If you're grading others, your side can't be providing fresh headlines. So why do these two keep colliding? The roots go back further. Before album plans and document debates, there was a separate controversy. Remarks from Boosie about a public figure's child drew widespread criticism. T.I. responded publicly, essentially saying other people's children shouldn't be the subject of that kind of commentary. That exchange planted a seed. This wasn't just a disagreement, it felt like a values clash in plain view, where boundaries, family, and public speech collide. From that point on, every new chapter, music, family incidents, legal chatter carried extra weight because it was filtered through that early moment. Who protects family? Who is out of line? Who gets to claim the high ground when topics are sensitive? By the time paperwork talk took over, this was no longer simply about a collaboration. It was about history, principle, and pride. And history always pushes toward a conclusion. Strip away the noise and three overlapping battles remain. First, credibility, documents, statements, and what viewers accept when the posting stops. Second, parenting in public. What you correct, what you ignore, and what you explain after a clip is already viral. Third, identity. How King wants to be seen beyond a well-known last name and a handful of high-traffic moments. If he flips the script, it won't be by raising the volume, it'll be through decisions that deny the timeline fresh material. Fewer flashpoints, more quiet wins. That's how narratives change. Slowly at first, then noticeably. For T.I. and Boosie, the feud cools only when both decide the scoreboard isn't worth the collateral. If one keeps pressing the accelerator while the other keeps presenting documents, the cycle repeats. Rumor becomes content, content becomes a case file, and audiences play judge on incomplete evidence. So what happens next? Does Boosie ease off as the mirror gets brighter? Does T.I. let verified records speak longer than outrage lasts? And does King step out of the crossfire and build something that talks louder than any headline? Here's the reality most public disputes avoid. Perception rarely loses an argument, but it can be starved. Less chaos, better circles, quieter choices. If King wants out of the punchline cycle, that's the path uninteresting to rumor feeds, compelling to long-term respect. If T.I. wants the hypothetical framing to stand, consistent calm will do more than any caption. And if Boosie wants to challenge others without ricochet, his side needs to stay uneventful in the best possible way. Over time, audiences respect steady outcomes more than loud debates. Turn the page, and the crowd will eventually notice, even if it takes longer than a clip.